Hello, welcome everybody. This is Sex Positive St. Louis, and this week, November 13th through the 19th, we're celebrating Soft Cock Week, and we're so excited to welcome one of my colleagues who travels the country, Michelle Renee. Michelle is a surrogate partner and a sex coach and sex educator and activist, and I'm just so excited to hear about how you came about creating this event for Soft Cock Week. With Soft Cock Week has never been done before.
Yeah, I was surprised when I started to poke around. I've made the joke a couple times on different interviews that we really need to appreciate soft cock. I get really disappointed when a lot of cis men show up in my inbox and saying, like, help me fix my penis, something's wrong with my penis. And I was like maybe there's nothing wrong with your penis. It depends on what you're kind of comparing yourself to. And so I said it enough times that I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna go ahead and do the thing. So a couple of friends encouraged me and kind of lit a fire under my ass to go ahead and do it.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. So Michelle, tell us about your background as far as what are your passions? What are you really into besides soft cock?
I'm a sex and relationship geek. So I got divorced about 8 years ago, was a stay-at-home mom with an accounting background, and thought there's no way in hell I'm going to go back to working in an office. The idea kind of, I just couldn't wrap my head around it. I've been self-employed most of my adult life. And I found Betty Dotson and got into the Betty Dotson world. And started to really explore my own sexuality that way. I was already like the person that everybody came to talk to about their sex stuff, but like through like actually working on my own stuff, I realized I really wanted to do hands-on sex education. And so then I got into professional cuddling, and I kind of moved, right. So I kind of moved from being a sex geek to more of a relationship geek. So I'm in this interesting place where I do a lot of intimacy work, hands-on, like sex work, the surrogate partner work. So I have this erotic component to my work, but I'm more interested in the relationship side of that component and helping people learn how to be authentic and vulnerable and really connect with someone, not just physically, but also like emotionally.
And are you hoping to be fully based in San Diego at some point with some travel, or where are you working out of?
Yeah, so it's not been officially announced, but I am in the process of moving back to San Diego full time. But right now I straddle between Baltimore and San Diego with a weekend in Philly and a pop-up to LA, and I'm kind of just all over the place. But yeah, the long-term plan is to be back in San Diego full time. And then I would be happy to travel. Right now, I limit my travel to these two places because I'm constantly on the go, and that's enough for me. I don't need to hit Atlanta or pop into St. Louis or wherever. I can't manage that in my schedule at this point.
Not now, but maybe someday.
Maybe someday, but I just absolutely love the variety of connections that I get to have with clients, working that full spectrum of platonic to erotic. So
yeah. And if people wanted to dig into you some more, they could go to your website, meetmichellerenee.com. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of the umbrella spot of all things that I'm kind of involved with.
And you keep mentioning hands-on work, but you also do talking, coaching. People can contact you. And
yes, it's not my preferred. I love connecting with people physically. Like I love learning about somebody through cuddling. That's really my preference. But when it's not available because of logistics, then yes, I can do online work.
Yeah. And you recently launched the website softcockweek.com.
Yes.
And that's where
that was available.
It wasn't taken. You got to have softcockweek.com. So if you go there, you can see some of the events, the lineup, the resources that you've been putting together, and it will be up for a while, right? It will be updated every November.
It's not going away.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not going away. Right now, this is our first year. So I kind of just like threw out this idea to my friends and colleagues, and it's taken up this slow snowball effect, but people keep sending me different resources to add to I put the older content that's not fresh for this year on the resource page,
Mhm.
and all of this year's content is on the front page. And then after this year kind of wraps up, before next November, we'll move it to the resource page and start fresh again, with the new content up front. But it's just really lovely, and it warms my heart to see all of us come together in the sex ed world to kind of, oh, I did an interview about this before, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you work mostly with people who have penises, or what is your?
I would say 75% of my clientele would have penises. I do some work with women. It seems like that work is more so based around helping them learn about boundary setting and communication skills. That seems to be where they show up for me, or mothering, because I have kind of that mom energy thing, and a lot of people have difficult relationships with their mothers, and so I can step in and hold some of that space.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine you get a lot of people contacting you like I do, who have shame and guilt baggage.
Oh, absolutely. If we could normalize everything, then I mean, that's kind of, I feel like most of my job is to just help normalize what is.
Right. And have these conversations.
Yeah. Talk about it so freely that it becomes easier for them to talk about it outside of our space together.
Yeah. I have a client who came to me recently who 64-year-old woman, never had an orgasm yet, really wants to investigate her body and figure things out. And she's had a therapist for several years now. And she's never brought up the topic of sex with him because she couldn't get it out of her mouth. But then she came to talk with me, and we had such a great conversation. I lubed her up, and she was able to go back and talk to her therapist, and they just hit the ground running. So that was really fun to help open that up.
Yeah, sometimes I actually occasionally do like a genital confidence for vulva owners here, or as I used to call it, pussy confidence here in San Diego with one of my friends. It's kind of loosely based on Betty Dodson's body sex workshops, and it's a great place for women to learn how to talk about. A lot of them have never orgasmed that come to the workshop, and get a place to talk about that and learn tools and tricks, and maybe just explore their bodies for the first time. They've got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And I guess it's fair to say that when we start focusing on phalluses, penises, cocks, that most people who have that type of genitalia are pretty familiar with it. And it's just right there. And there's, in our society, it's more, I don't know, everyone has this kind of stigma about self-pleasure, but men seem to know more, and people with penises seem to know more about what gets them off and how to work that. Would you agree with that, or what do you think?
Oh, well, I mean, they touch it multiple times a day to urinate, right? Like they have external genitalia, whereas women, we have internal genitalia. We can avoid looking at our genitalia. They cannot avoid it. And so if you're touching it on the regular, even just to urinate, it shocks me, the occasional client that hasn't masturbated. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised when I find a penis owner that hasn't masturbated, because it's right there and so easy to fondle and find what feels good, even if you don't know that you're walking into it from a place of eroticism when you're young, right? You're just following what feels good. So I'm really shocked when I find the client that hasn't, if they're a penis owner.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about what kind of client sessions you have, and if you've had enough encounters with people having conflicting feelings about soft cock and erectile disappointment and things not going exactly the way they want. Can you talk about the origin stories, I guess?
It's interesting. A lot of times I'm really funny about when clients come to me because they want the quick fix, and I'm not the quick fix girl. And so a lot of times I just send them off with the Barry McCarthy book that you recommended to me when I first got into the work, and they kind of just disappear, because I'm looking at it from a place of, this is likely a connection issue. And we're going to have to build a connection to show a different way to do things. Right. So a lot of times they don't follow through. I have surrogate partner clients for sure that have, we've worked through that process together, but the regular like hands-on intimacy coaching work, I haven't had, you know, they've been there, but that's not our primary focus of our work. So a lot of times in surrogate partner work, it's they come because they're having erectile issues, as you know, I'm sure, Kendra. And then we find out there's a lot of other stuff that we have to work through, and some of the erection issues maybe don't go away, but they at least learn how to talk about it and normalize it with their next partner. That's kind of been my MO with how things have gone with clients is I help them just find that it's okay to be soft. They still report having really fulfilling sex, you know?
Yeah. That Barry McCarthy, he has a book about coping with erectile dysfunction. And then there's very much a companion book that is about rapid ejaculation. It's called Coping with Premature Ejaculation. And those books pretty much go hand in hand, because the number one thing he says causes erectile dysfunction or disappointment is anxiety. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So anxiety can really interfere with blood flow. It can put you into fight or flight mode. It can really shut things down. You can get up in your head a lot. So that was something that really opened me up.
The number one thing I do with clients, no matter what kind of if they're erotic or platonic, is we establish safety. Right. And I think that's a really important step that a lot of people don't realize how much they need. Like, I think some people walk through the world with an internal safety that gets them through a lot of situations where they're like, well, I show up and perform sexually just fine. Like, I can have casual sex and I can do all these things. But I think there's some people that really need to understand that they need more. They need more safety, be either built inside of them or with the person that they're with. And that's what I really focus on, is helping them establish that part. And then we can figure out what happens after that.
Okay. So safety, and it sounds like going slow can help, and really being able to be open and honest about what's on our minds and not trying to fake our way through things or be performative.
Yeah, and I think breaking away from penis-centered sex.
Okay.
Right? Breaking away from penis and vagina sex and taking what is in the room and working with what we've got, right?
Yeah, I call the penis and vagina sex, I tend to call that straight sex. And then I call all the other kinds of sexy time we can have, I call that creative sex, which is a mainstream way of saying queer sex. So I think people with a queer outlook tend to be much more versatile, and I don't know, when you watch queer porn, you see people laughing, joking, getting the lube, taking breaks, things like that you don't see in that mainstream porn. That is really fun to watch because it's very entertaining, but boy, does that give some messaging out to people in general.
Yeah, I've had clients contact me because their concern is that they don't stay hard the entire time that they're in a sexual experience. And I'm like, well, that's normal, but they've only had their experiences from watching porn, which is very edited and manufactured, and it's not the reality. And since our sex education is kind of, you know, pretty sucky, they don't know that they can, you know, masturbate and have an orgasm with a soft penis, right? There's all these things they just don't know. And I think most of my work feels like it's like really sex education and helping to like right the wrongs of just misinformation.
Yeah. And as far as baggage goes, the guilt and shame, do you sense that people in the Midwest, we have a lot of Catholics, a lot of religious stuff going on there? Do you come across that
everywhere?
As well? It is?
Okay. Yeah, that's everywhere. I think the difference is maybe because I was raised in Michigan. So like I spent the first 40 years there. But I think the difference I see now is that they don't think religion has affected their outlook or their shame, because they didn't grow up in a quote unquote religious family. They didn't go to church every week,
Mhm.
but it's all over in our society. So I just think it seeps its way into most people's judgments about their sex and shame about what they like. I think whether you were raised in church or not, I think it's there for everyone.
So if you're not just in a family that's religious, you're talking about just social norms and society just
Mhm.
seeping in and giving people some kind of unconscious expectations.
Absolutely. In our television shows, our media just in general. I think those we are such a Christian nation, right? That stuff just shows up everywhere. You can't turn on the news and not see something about it. So yeah, I don't think it matters whether you're raised in church or not. I think it's still there.
Okay. Yeah. So what have you been this week being brand new launching? What sort of things have you been discovering and connecting with? I think that you mentioned that you've been interviewed and you've been kind of going on a circuit with it, with this message.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not too much, because I didn't set aside a bunch of like free time just to devote to soft cock for a week or two.
Mhm.
But I've done a couple of podcast interviews, but the most exciting one was Dan Savage talked to me last week, and I'll be on the show this week talking about soft cock, which it's midweek of soft cock week. I wish it would have been last week, but I will not, beggars can't be choosers. That I just happened to send him just a random tweet and was shocked when he showed up in my DMs, and to get such big publicity when I just like kind of threw this kind of grassroots, let's see what we can come up with amongst my little circle of friends. It's pretty, if you ask, you might get a yes, right? And I just happened to maybe ask at just the right time, and he picked up on it, and here we are. It's going to be pretty cool to hear Soft Cock Week talked about on such a big platform.
Nice. Can you give us a little preview, like one little thing that you talked about that we can watch for tomorrow or whenever it launches?
Yeah, so well, we recorded twice because he had written a column for his Savage Love column. One of the questions was about a man in his 70s post prostate cancer, and how he felt like he needed to disclose the fact that he had ED in his dating profile. And that was what we planned to talk about. We recorded that it's only going to be maybe a 6-minute clip or something. We recorded that, and then we shot the shit with each other a little bit. He's such a like very approachable man.
Yeah, chat
And yeah, and then I went on Instagram and like did an Instagram live of like me geeking out over the fact that I had just talked to Dan Savage, because it was kind of just one of these moments of like fangirlhood.
Uh-huh.
And I went back to my email, and he was back in my email going, hey, actually,
Uh-huh.
this other caller question came in that would be a much better thing to talk about. Can you jump back on video? And so I jumped back on. I don't know how it's going to come out in editing, because I wasn't as prepared to answer. It was a much more complicated topic about a married couple who the husband got COVID and has had ED ever since, and has tried pills and injections and pumps, and nothing is working. And it just, there's a lot there. It's a lot harder question to tackle than something more simple
Yeah.
about,
So is that
talking about it in your
physiological
dating
stuff?
profile.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. It
uh-huh.
sounds like they haven't linked it to COVID directly, but she said it happened after COVID. So, and there's no, we don't get to ask questions, and I'm the person that's like, I want to talk to the husband. I want to know how he feels about this. I'm only hearing how the wife feels about it. And yeah, so that is the question we tackle about, like, what does she do? She's a little sad that, as she put it, she misses turkey at Thanksgiving, was the way she worded it. And I don't think we have enough time to talk about the magnitude of of where she's at with this right now. But such as radio, we did our little piece, and we'll
Yeah.
see how it ends up after Nancy gets done editing it for us.
Yeah. So what are the reasons behind soft cock being born? Because I would say that majority of the time a penis is not hard. And
Yeah,
you've got different physiological condition and physical stuff, but then there's a lot of mental and psychological components in play as well.
absolutely. I think the quickest way to guarantee a soft penis is to worry about having a hard penis, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Uh-huh.
the more you think about it, the more likely that's going to be the case. I think there's, are you asking me like what are the different reasons
No,
that
just,
this shows up, or-
brainstorming a little bit, because it's just
yeah,
not
I mean,
one thing.
it's interesting because I do get married men approaching me for like a one-off session to see if their penis, like if they would get hard with me. And I'm like, I mean, we could do that, but like, how does that help your marriage? Like, what's the long-term plan? If you find out that it works with me, are you going to go do something about it? Like, you're going to go to therapy and work on your relationship? What's going to happen for you if you do have that information? I don't know what it solves,
That's a good
so.
point, but I get that as well. And I find
Mhm.
that a married man will come to me and he's in one of those marriages that they've been married for 10 plus years. They have children, they both have jobs, and things get so busy. And then the whole breaking down of communication happens. So there's not talking about things. And then when it becomes resentment and contempt and all these other things, that really puts a damper on things. And then when they come to me, and I hardly know them, I just know them as a human being with, desires and goals and so forth. And when I meet with them in a non-judgmental way, they're able to get erect because there's not all that other baggage there, the contempt, the resentment. And so I do say, yes, you're working fine as long as, but you really have to address all those issues that you talk about.
Right. And that's what I would do too if they followed through with it. But I don't know, I tend to go after them with the uncomfortable question of what are you going to do with this information?
Yes. I think
Yeah.
it gives them a little bit of validation or a check, because we often put ourselves in such closed containers, and to be able to get outside of that zone a little bit can, I don't know, they're information gathering, and I sure hope that they are able to be in their home and feel like they have a safe environment, and of course with their partner as well.
Yeah, the connection is struggling, right? And I think when the connection is struggling, that's one place that you see that show up.
Yeah, and just for the record, any sort of long-term relationship, marriage sort of issues that people might have, one of the best resources is Esther Perel. Esther Perel has some hot podcasts and books, and is wonderful to help people with long-term relationships get back to that spark.
Yeah.
And find that.
It's hard. I mean, I was married with kids. It's difficult. It takes a lot of work. It doesn't just magically happen. And I don't know that people are like always understanding how much work it takes to keep the connection going. It's not just we're nice to each other, or they're, I consider them a good friend. It's like, I personally, like, one of my like biggest turn-ons is vulnerable conversation. Well, if my partner was one to be kind of closed off from that, I wouldn't, like, I don't know how I would find connection. I can't say that sex is enough of a connection to keep it going. I need something else. And there's just seems like there's not enough people that really want to talk to each other.
Well, you think why don't people just open up and talk? Because they're afraid of the outcome. They're afraid of being rejected. They're afraid of throwing a bomb into the whole thing and really rocking the boat. And they just rather not even go there. And it just creates more and more distance.
Yeah. That goes back to my comment about safety that I mentioned earlier. If you'd like, I can send or I can probably, I think it's on my meetmichellerenee.com. There's a my favorite things or something like that. There's a video on there that really talks about like the animal kingdom and how they build safety first. And we kind of as a culture kind of date in the backwards order where we want to get safety eventually, but it's like in the opposite order of how like some animals do it. And so I don't know, I just kind of keep that as like my guiding light as to how I try to kind of, if it doesn't work for you the way that you're doing it, do something different. So let's flip it on its head and like let's establish safety first and see what happens. And I think with relationships, it's the same thing. Like, can you keep that safety going in your relationship, that it's okay to talk about the difficult topics, so that, let's say you show up in a sexual situation with your partner and your penis doesn't get hard. Do you have the kind of relationship where you can actually talk about it and not shame your partner? Or how do I feel as the woman that you're not hard? I've got feelings about that too. Does that mean something about me? Do I not turn you on? Like, there's a lot that needs to be talked about. And if they don't have the safety, I don't know that they're talking about it. And that's just probably snowballing the situation.
Yeah, Reed Mahalko has a really wonderful page on his website about formula for difficult conversations, and you plug in your concerns and things, and then hopefully it'll work better for you than bringing it at the wrong time or the wrong tone, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. We all have stories going on in our heads, right? And I think there's two bad sides of that, right? There's the not talking about it and expressing what the stories are. And then there's the other side of it of talking about our stories, but from a place that's really shaming and harmful to the other person in the relationship. It's like finding that middle ground to be able to talk about it with kindness and compassion and understanding.
Patience. We often are, like you said, want a pill to fix things and are impatient and want quick results. I think you mentioned before that you admire the men who might have a performance anxiety that go to a group setting or they're at a party or they're dating someone new and they want to let people know right off the bat that it takes them a little bit of time to get acclimated and comfortable. And so they might not be hard the first time or few with a new partner.
Yeah, building in proper expectations. Right. It's so much easier to talk about it before. It's like part of your elevator, your safer sex elevator pitch or what have you. Like,
that's Read too.
Just saying, this is how my body works. Yeah, Read too. This is how my body works. And if you keep the expectations, I don't want to say low, but like if your partner doesn't think you're going to come in as some kind of stud and just be rock hard the whole time, but rather, I always say, like, what do they say? Under promise, over deliver. Like, if you built in, hey, I don't know that my penis is going to get hard today, but I just cannot wait to play with you. There's there's a whole world to do with people out there. I love a soft cock. I'd rather have a soft cock in my mouth than a hard cock in my mouth.
Yeah. One of the coolest little tips I ever learned from just reading erotica online, and I've used it with some of my clients before, is there was this one story I read about a woman at a swingers party, and there was a man and they were about to engage in play. And as she started to go down on him, she said, "Whatever you do, don't get hard, because I love soft cock in my mouth. Don't get hard. I love it." And so she starts doing her thing. And of course he gets hard or he doesn't, but either way they win, And so I've done that before. I'm like, don't get any bigger. You're perfect in my mouth right now. And then they get bigger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, wouldn't it be great if is there any porn, like any like femdom porn or something that could really highlight that? I don't know. I think in the kink community, you're just at an advantage anyways, right? We have so many different ways to work around these things. And I think it's like the regular world that just needs to get out of that box of like you say, straight sex being the sex, and if we could just expand that to the creative sex, then wouldn't
Yeah.
be such a big issue, I think.
Yeah. Michelle, we've been going on for half the time. Do you think, would you be okay with other people chipping in and asking a question or sharing something at this point? And we'll go until 6:30 Central Time.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good.
What have you been thinking listening to this, everyone? Does anyone want to contribute and ask a question or share a story or anything? Tips? Ken?
Hi, this is magnificent. I'm a now retired sex educator. and
Yes, I know
wish-
you.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I was wondering where I heard your name. You're on Facebook.
Yes. I've been very active in the polyamory community for about 25 years, and I'm now retired. I've just burned out. But,
Oh,
but
you've done
I,
your share.
but I was teaching sex, and I have a friend out in Santa Fe who has this, well, I call it a joy. She loves sucking soft dicks.
Mhm.
And she said when she was young, they were never soft very long. But now that she's older, she's in paradise.
Mhm.
And men have this thing about soft penises. We're ashamed of them. And we have to get past that women really don't care. It's not a sign of failure. It just means that you have to find another form of intimacy. And I like the word intimacy, which involves a lot more than just a hard dick.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense
anyway,
to me.
men don't ask, do you like soft penises? For whatever reason. And learning that has made a lot of difference in my own sexuality, that it's okay to be soft, and some women really like it. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah,
Yay.
notice when you go into the sex toy store, there's a whole wall of big hard dongs and big hard this and different sizes and colors. And then they'll even have softer ones, but there's a little small section of the packers, the ones that are soft, that are meant for wearing or for however you want to express yourself. So that, like right there, that's society saying that.
But what's the #1 selling sex toy?
What is it? Vibrator?
I'm guessing it'd be like like magic wand type vibrators is my guess. I don't really know. I'm making this up. I'm just assuming that vibrator has been been around for a very long time, and it does not include any penetration, right? So it's interesting. And I brought up I don't know if it got into the recording with Dan, but I was prepared to talk about like the orgasm gap as part of this, like, why are we focused on a hard cock outside of just whatever that means for masculinity and whatnot? But like when you look at the orgasm gap numbers, the women having the most orgasms are the ones that are in a lesbian relationship.
Mhm.
It's not in heterosexual relationships. So like the hard penis is not going to save the day for the orgasm gap.
And it might be just getting in the way of some things, you think?
I think it's the fallback. It's kind of the easy button, maybe, even though it's the hardest way for most people to have an orgasm, or most all of us to have an orgasm.
Yeah. And when we're talking about penis and vagina, that's friction sex. And I wonder about if a penis has 4,000 or 5,000 nerve endings, if they're hard or soft, aren't there still the same amount of nerve endings there?
Yeah, I mean I think that's been the thing I didn't know, gosh, years ago, is that a
Mhm.
soft penis could have an orgasm, but it makes total sense that a soft penis could have an orgasm because those nerves don't go away. I'm
Mhm.
sure it feels different. And one of the person in Dan's column was talking about how he has the best orgasms now. So
Mhm.
it's his sex has gotten better now that he can't have an erection. And I think maybe the erection is a distraction.
Yeah. And there are toys out there for men who are not erect, like that duo pulse that wraps around. So you can be hard and wear it and it has vibration, or you can be flaccid and it will still achieve results. If you're going for
Right. I saw you mention it and I am not familiar with that. I've been kind of out of the sex toy world for a long time and I haven't kept up. So I have to look into it.
Well, in 3 months, I'll be seeing a bunch of new stuff. It's constantly innovating. So
yeah, I used to sell sex toys years ago and I was really up on all the new products and it kind of fell away from me. And now I'm the girl that like, I'm happy with a magic wand and maybe a Enjoy Pure wand and call it good.
Right. Anyone else want to ask a question or share something?
Yeah, I'd like to. Excuse me. Hello, Michelle. Nice to meet you. My name's John.
Nice to meet you.
I'd like to hear the rest of the conversation about, do you list having ED in your dating profile? Because I was wondering about that. I've got several medical problems. I know where it comes from, but and I do miss my hard cock. I really do. I enjoyed it a lot. But I found out that you can have an orgasm without a hard one, which helps. But should I include that in a dating profile if I'm going to go ahead with this, or what?
I think my personal feeling is that feels like you're almost giving a warning, and I don't feel like it should be a warning. Does that make sense? Like almost like a disclosure. And I think that that's something you can talk about when you get to a place of having sex with someone. But to me, I feel like that's like almost saying like this is a negative thing you should know about me, and I don't feel that that's true.
Oh, okay.
Kendra, what do you think?
I wouldn't bother to put that on the dating profile any more than I would say to mine that I don't orgasm with penis and vagina intercourse. I wouldn't mention that because I don't know. Then when you get to know somebody and within the 3 or 4 dates that you're talking, you find out what you're into. And it's good to be able to talk about some things in person before you get into a dim room and it's after dinner and everyone's, when you're on that date, you're suddenly on best behavior or have to be a certain way. And it's nice to be able to disclose that before that, I think.
Okay.
I agree.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Someone mentioned in the comments about prostate orgasms. You certainly don't need erections for that.
No.
It could be full body.
Right. That's very true. And I like your whole comment, Kendra, about creative sex, all the different ways you can do it. And I've gotten creative over the years.
For sure.
I think I mentioned this to Kendra at one point. My late wife said that I enjoyed foreplay better than sex because it lasted longer. But anyway, thank you.
Yeah. I've got a blog post on thebeautifulkind.com that is titled "Why Creative Sex is Better Than Straight Sex," and it breaks it down with some more details about that.
Oh, I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking about prostate orgasms, and I'm friends with Ruby Ryder, and we have these conversations often about how when you're in prostate play, most penises do not stay hard, and sometimes people think that there's something wrong with that, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's completely normal.
When Dan Savage mentions when you watch gay porn, when the person receiving, they tend to be manually stimulating themselves. Otherwise, they might not have that erection there.
I think think that's what keeps the attention split, is you have to have something happening with the cock.
Mental
but
and physical stuff have to be at play sometimes.
yeah.
And you mentioned Ruby Ryder. She's a mentor of ours as well. She does Pegging Paradise.
She has a really great audio she recorded for Soft Cock Week. It's on the website. It's also included in this last week's, podcast episode also. But yeah, she's very involved in Soft Cock Week. She'll be on, we're doing a Soft Cock Week, Soft Cocktail Mixer on Saturday nights, which is free, and you can go sign up for it at softcockweek.com. But Ruby will be on it then. She couldn't join us last night for our soft opening because she was on a cruise, but she'll be back on Friday, and so she'll be with us for that too. I know Kendra can't make it, but
on Saturday.
Yeah, Ruby will be there.
But we're tag teaming, we're taking turns.
Get all the powerhouses
Mhm.
on there one way or another. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, there's just so much resource everywhere. It's so nice to have a network and be able to refer people. And yeah.
Yeah. I remember, Kendra, you were like one of these, like, one day I want to be like Kendra Holliday before I got into surrogate partner work. And so I remember the first time you reached out to offer me support around something I was dealing with. And I was like, you're going to talk to me? And so it's nice to consider you a friend now.
And now you have the support groups that I'm a member of, and I come to you for stuff too, because you have such different training and education and certification. I don't have that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's good to have a good community.
Yeah, people bring different things to the table.
Absolutely.
Including their genitals. Yeah. Anyone else want to share? Do you want to share a story or, and notice we haven't talked about remedies and solutions and pills and injection. We haven't even mentioned that in this conversation, but that's a whole nother topic, I suppose.
There's great tech out there. I mean, if it's important, I think people, I don't feel good about people doing something that they don't want, but somebody else wants it for them. Sure. But if that's something that they really want, like there's so many different options out there.
So I have
Shelley.
Yeah, I just have a question observation. We're talking about cultural society pushing the fact that, men are hard and erections, that's what makes a man. In the movies or TV shows or whatnot, when a man doesn't get hard, he's always just upset. This never happens to me. And the woman is like, it's okay, honey. But are there things in real life, comments, words that actually help convey, no, this really is okay? And this is a big question, but why the hell not ask, right?
I'm just thinking last time it happened for me was in sex the other day. And we just rolled with, well, this isn't going to continue. The penetration part is over. Let's find something else to do. Like I think it's just how it's been, if it's been normalized inside the relationship or not. Right. And how everybody responds. Like, I can only control my response. I can't control my partner's response, but like rolling with the punches kind of thing of like, okay, it's just time to pivot. That's all this is. It's an opportunity to try to do something different than what we were doing, 2 minutes ago.
Yeah. And once again, you mentioned that penises are not hard the whole time that someone's having an encounter. It's just like, it's like a tidal pool. It ebbs and flows and it's normal.
It's a great break to do something else.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments or
I think Chris has a question.
Oh, thanks, David. Chris.
Chris, you got on mute.
No, I didn't have a question. I'm just intrigued about, all the discussion, that's all.
You're
Okay.
not the only Chris. Chris at Shadowland. It seems like you're unmuted, but I'm still not hearing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Chris might be having some audio problems.
Okay. All right.
Chris, why don't you type your question in the chat while someone else goes, if anyone else has anything?
I have a question.
Robert. Hi, Robert.
Hi. While you were discussing soft penises, anyone discussing micro penises? Is that the same thing?
It's different.
That came up yeah, that was something that Kendra joined me for the soft opening last night. And in the after we closed the event, we were talking, the facilitators, which Kendra had already left, and we were talking about how that might be a nice place to kind of expand this conversation, because we equate the relaxed penis with having a small penis as these two negative things that we like to use as weaponized words, especially with the male population. And so, no, we haven't actually talked about penis size, but that is another super important topic that I don't even know if it's something we bring into Soft Cock Week at some point, but I think it's a really valuable conversation to have. I will say this without diving into micro penises. One of the best lovers I had a micro penis. Like, I would put him at the top of the list of people I've been with. So I don't think it's it doesn't need to be a deal breaker situation.
And again, porn is the culprit behind both of those issues of soft cock and smaller size penises. People all think they need to have an 8-inch rock hard all the time. And also, those are not so fun sometimes. We all have our different moods and we need to warm up. And I was reading a sex worker memoir the other day, and she said something. She had a large size client, and she looked at him and she said, okay, well, I'm not made of concrete, so don't jackhammer me.
Yeah.
I
always say for myself personally, I had a partner at one time that was pretty well endowed, and I said, you're going to get a lot less anal sex from me than a partner that had a more average size penis or even a smaller size penis, right? Because it was, it's a different experience. It's a different commitment that you're jumping into sometimes. So yeah, I wish we could just normalize all size penises.
Well, we're working on it, one penis at a time.
I know.
Or one.
I know.
Chris
Yeah.
put in the chat, related to Shelley and what can be said. My wife at the time and I were having issues. Sex became one of them. I started to have issues. She said, it's okay. Not really helping because of the social stigma.
Really is okay.
I think if I can jump in here, I think the problem with, saying it's okay, or the other thing that guys realize, it happens to other guys too. I think the problem with that, even though it's coming from a good place, is it's kind of a cliche. We've heard it before. So the repetition makes it kind of meaningless. Again, which is not the fault of the partner, because they're just trying to be reassuring. I think that trying to come up with a more personalized response that doesn't sound like something we've been hearing all our lives would help. Because when I was young, I've had erectile dysfunction issues pretty much my whole adult life. And I was with a woman when I was younger, and I couldn't get an erection. And she goes, "Oh, it's okay. It happens to other guys too." And I said, "I bet you're the person who can't get through a game of Monopoly without saying, wouldn't it be great if this were all real money?" It's just, once something become a cliche, the effect is lost. So I would just say saying something that is unique to the situation, or making a joke that's maybe not at the partner's expense, or something to lighten the mood that doesn't just sound like boilerplate. There's certain phrases I'm sorry. Hey, how you doing? Happens to other guys too. You hear it so much that it sort of loses its effect.
What about an enthusiastic response of like, let's do this instead? Like, can you just pivot in that space? Like I think, you know, Kendra and I, at least like we tend to come into the space around soft cock is really excited about it. Like it is not a deal breaker for us by any means. And if anything, like we are like cheerleaders around it. And that's not, that my understanding is I don't think that's always the case. And if we could get more cheerleaders, like I have a client that told me the other day, he's like, you get so excited about soft cock, it makes me feel like maybe it's okay. Like it's an authentic joy. I'm not happy because they're having they're not having the erection they want, right? But like I think soft penises are really cute. And I love, like I said, they're fun to play with. There's just a different thing there. And there's so many other things we can do besides play with your penis. Like I have a vulva that wants some attention. You know what I mean? I love playing with prostates. I can take it around. Oh, some sensation play. Let me make you squirm while I lick your armpits. Whatever the thing is, right? Like there's a lot of other parts of the body that have pleasure sensors.
Yeah.
Keep moving.
Yeah, it's true that it's, again, you mentioned we don't need sex to be penis focused. There's a whole nother, the brain and the skin are all these amazing erogenous organs that we can tap into.
Yeah. If they say, oh, it's okay, and it sounds like it's I'm sorry about your loss, like that's
Exactly.
that's not gonna help the situation. I totally agree there.
I do want to say that one really nice experience I had was my partner and I, we were having a threesome, an MFM threesome. So I was with the new man, the guest star, and we were having intercourse. We were having penis and vagina, and my partner came up to join us and he didn't get hard and he was fine. That was so cool that he didn't kind of pout and storm out of the room or feel left. He just totally went and put his hands and he was still there. It did not change the mood at all. And
I have the same experience. Yeah, I have the same experience. I was like, ooh, I get to have double penetration. It's been a long time. This is going to be great. And I was with the guest star also, and my partner was supposed to enter from behind, and his penis wasn't hard enough. And so he used his fingers, and then he made jokes afterwards about, giving my friend a hand job through my asshole. Like it's just make light of it and have a good time. And like it didn't stop the mood. He just pivoted right along with it. It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, I really hope.
But I'm sharing a lot with you, Kendra. I'm generally not quite this TMI.
Oh my gosh, well, I appreciate it. Oh my God, it just makes it more real. And I really feel like people are going to take away some new perspective from this conversation. I have no doubt, because I am, and I can only imagine.
You're cool with us leaving that part in for YouTube though, right, Michelle?
Oh, sure. Right. I mean, I started before I got into cuddling, I had a sex blog of sorts. Like it was like my kind of public diary of talking about getting into kink and poly and stuff. And it's down right now for technical reasons, but there's a time where I said to my partner who at the time I was just dating very casually, and he's mentioned many places in this blog. And I said, like, what do you like? This is going to be out there. And he's like, yeah, it's fine. Like, if family finds it, they didn't need to go looking for it, kind of attitude. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, we're all adults here, and hopefully adults will be learning from this, and we'll be making sure that this YouTube video is for 18 and up.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I really appreciate everyone tuning in for this, and I'm so happy for you to meet Michelle. It's so nice to branch out from our little world of St. Louis, sex positive St. Louis. And I appreciate all the work that you're doing, and that you are the queen of Soft Cock Week.
I love that title. I will get it'll get a crown at some
Yeah.
point. No, I'm glad that I'm sad that it hadn't been done before, like, but at the same time, it's been really easy to put it together, and it's been really easy to find people that are excited to participate in this.
Mhm.
Because especially I think in the sex ed world, we want people to have a more holistic understanding of their bodies,
Well-rounded.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So thank you for being such a big part of it too, Kendra.
Yeah, you're welcome. So thank you, everyone. And go tune into softcockweek.com for more exciting updates. And I'm sure it will continue to grow over the years. I don't know how long you're going to do it. You're going to say something?
I hope to do it forever. I want to encourage, we have over there soft cock love notes. So
Oh.
you can write a love note to a soft penis and it comes to my email, and I'll get it out there onto the website.
Aw, that's sweet. I like that.
It is sweet. It was a last minute idea. So
Nice. Okay, everyone. We'll see you at the next events, okay? All righty.
lovely to
care.
meet you guys. Yep.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.